Welcome to Guitar Science. So today we're going to take a look at this guitar, which I like to call my Les Paul. Now you may have noticed something interesting about this. Missing two knobs right here. There's actually there's pennies in the cavity to make it not look as bad and not look like there's big holes there. And then it's kind of missing a switch up here as well, and there's kind of a Abe Lincoln's head sticking out of there too. So what's the deal with that? Well, that's the subject of today's video. Do you really need a tone knob? And does your guitar sound better with a tone knob? Or does it sound better without tone knobs? Now, I'm going to make the case for no tone knobs. I am one of those players who leaves the tone knobs dimed all the time. If I want to remove high end, I usually go to the amplifier. I don't, or like the EQ if I'm recording. I don't usually adjust it here. I adjust it on the amp, I adjust it on pedals, I adjust it in my DAW. I don't usually adjust it on the guitar. I suppose if I were playing gigs and I were on stage, it might be a nice thing to have. So maybe, if you're a gigging musician and you want to do that, that might be something for you. Although I would argue that once you've done a sound check, you could adjust the same way that I do and you would have no problems. So that's what we'll take a look at. I will show you the interesting circuitry here, which is kind of non-traditional, I suppose. But first, let's talk a little bit about this guitar. Number one, this guitar is beautiful. And I have a special bond with this guitar because this is the first guitar I kind of ever really put together. This is a Stu Mac Les Paul kit guitar. You can see the headstock matches with the whole spalted maple, which looks great. And this shipped as a bunch of pieces of unfinished wood that you have to put together. You have to set the neck in and everything. You've got to finish it. You've got to do all the wiring. You've got to put all the hardware, do all the setup, all of that stuff. And I pretty much had never done, well, any of that at the time. I don't even think I'd swapped out a bolt-on neck, let alone a set neck like this. So I didn't do a great job finishing this. I used True Oil. Probably, in all honesty, could use, I don't know, probably like 5 more coats on the top. But I really like the way it looks, and I don't really feel like putting any more coats on, and it feels fine. Might not hold up well if you were to get it wet or something, and maybe 25 years from now it'll look a little old, but whatever. The back looks about like the back of a Les Paul should. I did grain fill the back, and the neck, I did not grain fill the neck, so you can see it looks really cool, but I did do some extra coats of True Oil, and I really sanded it down so that it's, it's not a sticky finish. It feels very fast. Would I say I did a professional grade job of finishing this? Absolutely not. It's very amateurish. All in, even with all the finishing supplies, it's about $285. So it's a lot cheaper than even an Epiphone. I did buy these speed knobs to go on top because I didn't like the ones it came with. Were super cheap looking plastic. And yeah, that's about all you need to know about this guitar. Okay, so let's take a look at the inside of this guitar. So the first thing you're going to notice is that the wiring job is terrible. That's because I did it. I'm not good at wiring. Sometimes I will shell out additional money to buy like a pre-wired pickguard so I don't have to do this. So this is far from great. It's better than I've seen in some guitars that I've bought, but it's definitely not the best that I've ever done. But it works, and it probably took me about an hour. Second thing you notice are the pennies. They don't look good in back, they look good in front. Deal with it, it's the control cavity. All right, so what do we got here? Very, very basic circuit. These are two 250K alpha pots. They're not what came with the kit. I bought them separately. And basically we've got 2 humbuckers wired in series. We've got a ground from the bridge, and we've got an output jack. That's it. You cannot get any more basic than this without, just having one pickup. So let's talk about the theory behind this. There's no switch, there's no additional potentiometers, there's no capacitors. So what I'm going for here is a minimum of signal loss due to resistance. So the conventional theory goes, right, you use 250K pots for humbuckers so you can preserve all that high-end content. You use 500K pots for single coils so that you can take a little harshness off of the high end. So essentially the theory is that as you increase the resistance, in the circuit, you're going to lose some high-end content, right? I believe that's what the physics tells you. That's not, guitar math, that's physics. So that's what we're putting to the test here. So I'm trying to minimize the number of circuit elements. There's no switch, there's no additional potentiometers. We should have maximum high-end content coming out of these humbuckers. So let's follow the circuit. First of all, we've got a bridge ground that's going on here. Then we have, this ground connected to that ground over here, and then we have that connected to the output ground. There's a ground circuit. And then we have the lead from the neck pickup coming in here, going across over here, and we have the lead from the bridge pickup, and then out to the output jack, right? So they're in series. This may affect the sound of the bridge pickup a little bit. I haven't really noticed anything, but they are wired in series here. It would be kind of interesting to try and wire them in parallel, but again, I think you'd need additional circuit elements to do that. I'm not particularly good at this kind of thing. The only other way I think you could make this simpler was actually if you just had two completely separate circuits for each pickup. That might be something that I'll try in the future. I'm kind of intrigued by that idea, but again, it's a little bit more work. So we'll see how this turns out, right? The whole goal of this is to go off the theory that the less signal loss you have due to resistance, the more high-end content you maintain. So before, when I had a conventional Les Paul wiring in here with your 4 resistors, your 2 capacitors, and your switch, I thought these pickups sounded kind of muddy. I wasn't particularly happy with the way this guitar sounds. Now, I like the way this guitar sounds. So all that's really left to do is to show you what it sounds like. And I'll give you my thoughts on the tone and what it sounds like afterwards. So if you don't want to hear it and you just want to know what I think, you can fast forward to the time that I'm going to put on the screen right now. Okay, so my apologies for playing a bunch of cliche blues licks, but that is kind of how I like to test guitars. So that recording was made with my Katana Mark II mic'd up into an interface into GarageBand with a pedal for some additional gain and then a little bit of gain and delay from the amp that I later turned off. So in conclusion, I really like the way this guitar sounds now. I did not like the way it sounded before. It was kind of muddy and it sounded like a cheap knockoff, whereas right now it kind of has that crispness and clarity that you come to expect from a good Les Paul. So this change has really brought this guitar to life for me, and I enjoy playing it a lot more now. Philosophically speaking, you can never really add high-end content back in. You can only really take it away. So why not have the maximum amount of high-end content from the actual guitar and then subtract it elsewhere if you want to? So I think minimizing the number of circuit elements in your guitar, reducing the overall resistance of the circuit, those could be positive changes to make. So I really have enjoyed this experiment here, and I think I'm going to do this again on future builds. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Guitar Science.